Hello once again. Another reflection from our vicarage here in Facet. It's almost a year now since we entered the first lockdown for COVID-19. Where has that time gone? This time last year, Andrew and I were busy planning our first Easter here. We were watching the progress of COVID in the UK. On this day last year, there were just 200 cases, and no one could have prepared us for what was to come. It wasn't until the 23rd of March that we were all told to stay at home. On the 24th of March, all churches were closed, and nothing has been remotely normal ever since. Looking back, it all seems slightly surreal, I think. Some mornings I wake up thinking it's all a bizarre dream. Then I realise it isn't. Certain events stand out in my mind. That really beautiful weather we all enjoyed last spring. Huge issues with technology as we tried to communicate in new ways, but didn't really know what we were doing. Times we were allowed out again and felt almost normal. Then that sad feeling when we went back into lockdown. We have so missed family and friends and just being with people and being in our churches. Sometimes it feels like the year has gone really slowly, like in slow motion. But sitting here today, it doesn't feel like nearly a year ago since I wrote my first lockdown reflection. I wonder what has struck you the most over the past year. For me, I think it's a sense of community and generosity. We've all pulled together to help others in so many ways, and that's despite the loneliness and isolation that everyone has suffered. And some people have been very isolated indeed, but this has not stopped kindness and care. As I've said before, we've all had an opportunity to reevaluate our lives, more time to think, to contemplate. And I hope that when we come out of this time, we will have thought about how we most want to spend our time in the future. I hope too that kindness to others will continue to flourish, that we might be also kinder to the whole of creation. For it's likely that our misuse of animals and creation that has put us into all this mess in the first place. I do believe also that whatever happens to us, whether personally or communally, as such as this virus, God can bring great good. And that has been my experience of life so far. Often we travel through difficult or troubled times and all can seem dark. Yet God can bring healing to the worst situations. And often when we look back, we can see how we were cared for and how we can grow through the difficult times we go through. The death and resurrection of Jesus that we remember at Easter are perhaps the most powerful reminders that everything isn't always as it seems. Since that first Easter, death is not the end, but another beginning. Failure is the pathway to success, and suffering can result in new life. In the years to come, we will look back and see this time differently. We will tell of the lockdowns and tell our stories. And we will have grown in many ways that as yet we can't predict. We are praying that we can open our doors of our churches again for Easter. And we will then, we pray, be able to gather outdoors with another family. And hopefully it won't be long until we can return to some sort of normality. But meanwhile, we can pray that we can all see life differently from now on. That we'll each take time to be thankful for every bit of every day, for every friend or member of our families that we see, for every bit of freedom we enjoy. We can pray that we will never take the slightest bit of our lives or our planet for granted, but live in love and joy for all the wonderful gifts that we've been given by God. St. Luke records Jesus' words to his disciples. Don't ever be afraid, dearest friends, for your loving Father joyously gives you his kingdom realm with all its promises. We need to remember those words at this time. Amen.